Embarrassing failures round up. It was a clear black night, a clear white moon. Jimmy Kimmel on TV trying to assume that people are watching, even though they're not. What happened to ratings in this time slot? Just hit the east side. Jimmy on ABC trying to entertain the audience of LGBT. Now Jimmy the Kimmel is predicting the demise of late night comedy on TV. Oh, the demise of late night television. It is coming sooner rather than later. Now, of course, this should not be a shocking revelation to long-term viewers of this channel. We have been predicting the demise of late-night television for years now. 40, 50 years from now, the demise of late-night comedy. It will be studied in lack of entertainment courses at Woke U. It is a clear picture of what not to do with a cash cow. For decades, late night programs on broadcast networks, they have printed money. Networks, they didn't really care about production costs because advertisers, they were willing to pay top dollar for slots on late night programs. The formula was simple. Charismatic host delivers a monologue making fun of current events. A-list celebrity is booked as the first guest. A lesser-known celebrity is the second guest. Popular musical acts or up-and-coming stand-up comedians, they close the show. This formula, it worked for decades. The trio of hosts who laid the foundation for the genre, Carson, Letterman, and Leno, they literally handed the next generation the golden goose. All they had to do was keep the goose polished. All they had to do was maintain the audience. You didn't even have to grow it. All you had to do was maintain it. Yet somehow, some way, the current trio of huge embarrassing failures in late night television, they thought the polish they were given was supposed to be used to polish the turd. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. This week, Jim Kimmel, he was the guest and interviewed on something called Politickin. Right now, Jim Kimmel has plenty of free time. He's on his annual summer hiatus where he takes the entire summer off work and no one notices. The show Politickin, it is hosted by the great Marshawn Lynch, some dude named Doug Hendrickson. Doug. If I was born and my mother gave me the name Doug, I would tell the doctor to put me back inside and tell my mother to try again. The third member of this trio is the governor of the People's Republic of California, Gabby Newsom. What? Really? Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. California is a literal shithole. California makes the WNBA dump look appealing. Life is so bad in the People's Republic, people are running away to Mexico in hopes of a better life for their family. They would rather live amongst the cartels in Tijuana than under the leadership of Gabby Newsom. At least in Tijuana, the cartels are funded and keep the area somewhat secure. I haven't seen protests in Mexico with people chanting, "Defund the cartels! Defund the cartels!" There are people in California struggling to survive, and their doofus governor, he's got the time to host a meaningless podcast? Really? Maybe Gabby utilizes his time and resources on this podcast looking for fresh ideas for failure. Hell, maybe that's why Jim Kimmel was a guest. If there's anyone who knows how to successfully destroy something, it's Jim Kimmel. Over the past decade, Jim, along with Steph Colbert, they have destroyed the genre of late night television. But during the interview, they discussed the future of late night. According to Jim Kimmel, future ain't looking bright. I think late night will cease to exist in the next 5 to 10 years. Our genre has been destroyed by the internet and streaming services. People have too many options. Plus, they can watch my clips on YouTube. There's no longer a need to tune in live. Jim Kimmel's partially right. Podcasting, YouTube, they have definitely impacted late night TV. If you're looking to promote something, would you rather get 2 to 3 hours of exposure on Joe Rogan with tens of millions of viewers, or would you rather sit with Jim Kimmel for 7 minutes enduring a painfully boring interview in front of 1 or 2 million people, most of which are asleep? Jim Kimmel's also correct when he says people have more options today than they had 20 or 30 years ago. But it's strange. That doesn't seem to be affecting the NFL, doesn't seem to be affecting John Oliver or Bill Maher. They are both behind a paywall, and they're still drawing good ratings. People have to actually pay to watch John Oliver and Bill Maher. Jim Kimmel is on free TV. The problem here with Jim's assessment of the demise of late night television, he fails to address the real issue. If I had to guess, Jim failed to address the real problem because he's part of it. Like I have been telling you guys for years, the number one problem in late night television, the host. Late night hosts used to be funny. They used to be relatable. The demise of the genre, it's similar to the demise of Howard Stern. One of the reasons that Howard Stern was so popular in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, besides the fact that he was willing to push boundaries and shock the audience, one of the reasons Howard Stern was so popular, he was relatable. Howard Stern promoted himself as blue collar. He promoted himself as the working man. He was the voice of the voiceless. He was fighting the corporate suits. He was making fun of his bosses live on the air. He would say things to his boss that you wish you could say to yours. In a way, the audience was living vicariously through Howard Stern. As he got older, he transitioned to Howie. He started hanging out with Jim Kimmel. He became an elitist. The man who used to have the balls to stand up to the FCC, the federal government, he was now deathly afraid of the Covey. As a result, Howie lost a sizable portion of the audience that Howard spent decades building. Howie wasn't as relatable as Howard. Same thing in late night TV. Jay Leno, he was like your goofy neighbor. David Letterman, he was like your drunk uncle. Conan O'Brien, he was the man-child who never grew up. And I was too young for Johnny Carson, but I'm sure he was relatable as well. Now, compare that to the trio of embarrassing failures hosting shows in modern late night television. Who in the hell is relating to Steph Colbert? Jim Kimmel is an elitist. Jim Fallon allowed NBC to destroy his likability by forcing him to become political. Sean Squires is an absolute disaster. Well, Casey, don't you mean Seth Meyers? No, I mean Sean Squires, lead accountant at Squires and host of some late night dump that comes on after Jim Fallon that very few people know exist. Late night shows, they used to be able to lead the news cycle. When is the last time you heard about something that happened on late night TV? I mean, earlier this week, Steph Colbert, he unintentionally made media headlines when he complimented CNN by claiming that they were objective, and his audience damn near laughed his ass off the stage. Unfortunately, Jim Kimmel is right. I don't see late night surviving the next 5 to 10 years. Can't remember the exact numbers. It's been a while since I've seen this report, but if I remember correctly, The Tonight Show on NBC, it used to generate, I want to say maybe $400 million in ad revenue every year. And that was just The Tonight Show alone. Now you would have to combine the revenues of Jim Fallon, Jim Kimmel, and Steph Colbert to match the revenue that The Tonight Show was generating by itself 8 years ago. Well, Casey, what about Sean Squires? How much revenue does Sean generate? If I had to guess, I would say none. The thing is, over the next couple of years, this should be the perfect time for late night to revive itself. Over the last decade, cable television has been dying a slow, painful death. This year, that death has been expedited. Last week, Warner Brothers Discovery had a $9 billion write-down. Their stock is trading at near record lows. Viacom is struggling. MTV and VH1, they barely exist. God only knows what the hell happened to BET. Is BET even on the air anymore? Once TNT loses the NBA, the network will fade into the background. ESPN just fired Sam Ponder and RG3 due to budget cuts. The worldwide leader in woke, they are scheduled to fire more people next month. Well, KC, do you think this will impact Stephen A. Smith? No, I think Stevie is leaving ESPN anyway, but budget cuts rarely impact those at the top. When you have talent that is difficult to replace, you tend to find the money to pay them. But just think about the current landscape of cable television. Most networks, they no longer produce original content. USA Network, it's nothing but reruns of Law & Order SVU. TNT shows old movies, same with AMC, and they're all edited. The other day, I saw that Goodfellas was on AMC. Within 5 minutes, I turned it off because I could not handle the constant censoring of curse words. The entire movie is a curse word. MTV is nothing but reruns of ridiculousness with Rob Doofus, the absolute worst show ever created. Point is, though, with the industry of cable television knocking on heaven's door, it is the perfect time for late night television to revive itself. Because the broadcast networks, they're not going anywhere. We might not have cable and satellite in 5 years, but we will always have the big three broadcast networks. This is the perfect opportunity for a revival in late night, but you can't do it with the current host. If late night is going to survive, you have got to clean house. You got to get hosts that are willing to make fun of people other than Donald Trump. Orange Man bad! You got to get hosts that normal people can relate to. Now, I think Stephen A. Smith would be a great replacement for Jim Kimmel. There are people out there who can save the genre. The networks, they've just got to be willing to find them. But give me your thoughts on this. Jim Kimmel predicts the demise of late night television. According to Jimmy, the genre will cease to exist in the next 5 to 10 years. Do you agree? Can late night be saved? Give me a couple of people who could possibly revive the late night genre. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.